Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, the remains of the IPO chairman Dermott Southwell laid to rest following an official funeral on Monday. Opposition leader says the cannabis industry could boost Dominica's Nature Island profile. And MP for Portsmouth optimistic about the chances of Ross University resuming operations here. The details of the news coming up.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
First up in the news, Chairman of the Integrity Commission and the former parliamentarian Dermott Southwell was laid to rest on Monday following an official funeral at the Bethesda Methodist Church. Besides family and friends, parliamentarians from both government and opposition attended the service. Prior to Monday's funeral service, parliamentarians paid tribute in the House of Assembly in the presence of some members of Mr. Southwell's family.
But his name was always a fascination because it was a very interesting Mr. Southwell. But I know his wife, and she really, I believe, represented and reflected the spirit of the family. We became very good friends, and we can discuss that in another forum. I don't want to talk about this right here. But Mr. Southwell, having said, he has made his contribution, a member of parliament, and had it not, if we didn't know that he was a minister in the Freedom Party government, you would not be able to identify what political party that he really belonged to, because he was more about country, he was more about development, and he never allowed his political bias to influence the work that he did for this country. He served in a number of capacities, and I think that many Dominicans will remember him, if not for his politics, but for the role that he played at Jasafel and Company, and many people would have interacted with him. Any challenge you had, and you could find Mr. Southwell, and he would almost solve them for you right there and then on the spot. Like many other great Dominicans, we're here to make our contribution. What will distinguish us is whether we have made it with a genuine heart, with great conscience. And I must say that Mr. Southwell served genuinely, with a love for his country. He has remained here and made his mark in the landscape of politics and private sector involvement in this country. I want to say to his wife that we'll continue to be there for the family. We'll continue to look out for her, and she can be rest assured that she has true friends in the Dominica Labour Party.
Mr. Southwell served with distinction in various fields of endeavor. He had his years in public service. He has his years in the private sector as well. A number of years in the service of his church. The last time I saw him, he was actually leading the choir in church, because Mr. Southwell and I are practicing Methodists. And so I extend sympathies and condolences on behalf of the very small Methodist community in the Parliament. To his family, I say be of good courage. He has finished his work. And I'm sure, given the kind of individual he was, his father, Bob, is smiling and saying, well done, good and faithful servant.
He was a great example of a person, a great example of a politician, a great example of a Dominican.
In more top stories now, the parliamentary representative for Portsmouth says government is responding to demands by Ross University as speculation continues as to whether the medical school will resume operations here. Ross University was forced to move its operations to mainland USA following devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. Concern has also been raised by some who claim that Ross is exploring the possibility of establishing operations in other Caribbean islands. But in the midst of all this, the MP for Portsmouth says some of the provisions in the 2018-2019 national budget are part of government's efforts towards delivering on some of the requests made by Ross University.
Well, Ross has mentioned airlift as an issue. And of course, you know that the Prime Minister has announced the intention to build the international airport. The international airport cannot be built over 1 or 2 years. It's a long process, but we've actually made definite plans to start. Ross University has also mentioned the hospital. But, you know, we're building a brand new hospital. It will be a state-of-the-art hospital. It will be beneficial for them too and their students. The infrastructure in and around Portsmouth and Picard, that is something that we are working on and we'll continue to work on. The internet, of course, is internet providers are private providers, not government. Government doesn't provide internet service, but there are certain issues like the roads, the lighting and stuff that we will continue to work on. We have made available a facility at the Aid Bank that we made available to the tourism sector. We've expanded it to the landlords of Picard who cater for the students at their apartments so that they can attract the funding and the capital that they need to refurbish and repair and renovate their homes. Because some of them have suffered damage because of Hurricane Maria. So we are playing our part as a community, as a country, as a government, and we expect that Ross will recognize that this partnership that has blossomed over the last 40 years, it is in their interest also to continue that partnership.
Ross University has had a partnership with Dominica for the last 40 years.
We are saying that although government cannot force Ross's decision or make a decision for us, but we are saying that the country has formed a great partnership which has resulted in the great success called the Ross University. And although the university have changed ownership over the years, we are still optimistic that the university will recognize that its success is in part due to the contribution made by the country and more particularly the community of Portsmouth and Picard. And we are hopeful that the university will return to its home base. We haven't heard definitively from the university yet. We are in dialogue with the university. The PM is in direct dialogue and contact with the principals of the university. I myself have persons within the staff of the university and good friends that I have established over the years being closely associated with Ross University. So we continue to dialogue on them and gently impress upon them the importance of returning to Dominica.
The parliamentary opposition leader Lennox Linton says creating a cannabis industry on the island could raise its image as the nature island of the world. Linton, while advocating for Dominica to explore the medical benefits of cannabis, said no plant or herb should be illegal here. The subject was among his recommendations for growing the country's economy.
We believe, Madam Speaker, that Dominica must get on board now to take advantage of the increasing opportunities for job creation, foreign exchange, earnings, and a wealthier nation. In addition, the availability and affordability of cannabis-based medicinal and wellness products will significantly reduce the incidence of non-communicable diseases and thereby lead to a healthier nation. A share of the global cannabis industry can deliver the lift we desperately need for the rural economy and strong livelihood restoration post-Maria.
Linton said there is wisdom in providing plant-based solutions for the country's medical needs.
We will grow our economy and generate wealth like we have never seen before. Think of this. With 20,000 acres of fertile land, growing a well-planned, market-driven mix of bananas, plantains, coconuts, root tubers, coffee, cocoa, cashews, ginger, vanilla, cannabis, and nature island flowers, we set the stage to earn hundreds of millions of dollars annually from the export of these commodities and the health and wellness products that can be created and manufactured from them.
Prime Minister Skerrit said in his budget presentation that government would hold consultations on issues relating to the use of marijuana in Dominica for medical purposes and possibly decriminalization, with a plan to appointing a task force for public dialogue. Linton said the current DLP administration was lagging behind on exploring the medical marijuana industry, adding that medical marijuana is a feature of the UWP's election manifesto.
Madam Speaker, are continuing those stakeholder consultations on cannabis, and we are currently working to complete an inventory of the cannabis varieties in Dominica to be tested for their medicinal content. We recognize that in the Caribbean, cannabis and Rastafari cannot be separated, that Rastafari has stood alone in the defense of a plant and thereby in defense of the natural systems that comprise our environment. So, we extend our respect for Caribbean Rastafari brothers and sisters who have stridently, stoically, and knowingly stood up for plants everywhere. Yes, sir.
Plans are underway for a proposed hospitality institute to be based at the Dominica State College. CEO of Discover Dominica Authority, Colin Piper, says a hospitality institute is expected to better complement the quality of service with an increased hotel room stock in the future.
And so your question as it relates to human resource development is something that we are addressing currently with the operators of those hotels, and it is the intention for us to put together a hospitality institute at the Dominica State College, where we can train students at the State College initially, but also there's a requirement for just people in general with a good attitude.
Those trained will have the advantage of being selected by hotels for employment.
It is our hope that we can get a large enough group of people to the meets minimum level, and that we're doing through the tourism program at the State College. And we at DDA will continue to have a number of kind of introductory programs. And then from that pool of people, the hoteliers can source some of the people that they would like.
Piper noted that the human resource development within tourism will be necessary as Dominica prepares to add 400 high-end rooms to its hotel room stock.
So you have the CBI properties, which are the Kempinskis, the Nietzsche's, the Jungle Bays that's coming up. And so we anticipate by third quarter to fourth quarter of next year to have an influx of 400 higher-end rooms.
He said the Cabritz Resort Kempinski would already have a trained workforce to its standards when it is opened.
I know Kempinski has initially indicated that there would be a scholarship offered for, I think, some 25 students to go abroad, I think, and actually work at some of the Kempinski hotels. And so each of the properties has to take they have to take ownership of how they will recruit and how they will train people in their specifically in terms of how they would want them to operate in their businesses. Kempinski may have a specific style.
And two major projects are being undertaken by a regional institution to help build resilience in Dominica's agriculture sector. CADI representative in Dominica, Dorian Etienne, says one of the main projects is geared at helping identify and investigate pests of interest, especially as it relates to the coconut industry. In its thrust to grow the coconut industry in the region, the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CADI, is in its fourth and final year of implementing a coconut development project in 11 CARIFORUM countries.
We are currently identifying an appropriate site to set up an IPM plus, IPM being Integrated Pest Management, where we'll evaluate control measures of pests of interest in coconuts.
A cassava project funded by the CDB is also being executed by CADI in partnership with the FAO. The program started earlier this year and is geared at seeing a difference in cassava production in the country.
This project looks at identifying best varieties in terms of yield and value-added characteristics to push the cassava industry. Cassava production in Dominica has been very traditional, over the years. But with changing times, changing demands, changing consumer tastes and preferences, and the need for agriculture to be very competitive, there's a need for us to do it right.
A reminder, you are watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, reaction from one businesswoman to a budget announcement of a planned ban on plastics and styrofoam products.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you for staying with us. A manager of a company which specializes in biodegradable products is pleased with government's decision to ban the use of plastic and styrofoam used in food packaging. Andrea Louis has more on the measure, which is expected to take effect from the 1st of January next year.
Nathalie Rowland, proprietor of 100% Green, has been lobbying for Dominica to take up the large-scale use of biodegradable items for the past 6 years. 100% Green is a company which exclusively sells non-plastic and non-styrofoam food containers and utensils. Rowland says the announcement by Prime Minister Scott during his budget presentation last week is a move in the right direction for helping Dominica live up to its name of Nature Island of the Caribbean.
No, I was very surprised and happy. I'm that kind of lobbying the government to take that decision for 6 years already. I wish we could have led the Caribbean with that kind of decision. It happens today, never too late to happen. I'm very happy for the country. The thing is, the name of Dominica, or the motto of Dominica, is to be a nature island, right? So, and the first comment on every tourist reaching the island is like, we don't look that nature. We have a lot of littering, we use a lot of styrofoam, a lot of plastic, so we cannot call ourselves nature island. So I wanted the country to become the nature island it's supposed to be, and the word of mouth will spread, So by using non-styrofoam and non-plastic, so biodegradable product, you help in the country for the visual pollution, for your health, for the waste management. It's not only just a product, it's a whole mindset that comes with it.
Cornstarch, sugarcane, and paper are the 3 main raw materials used in the production of biodegradable containers. Rowland says the biodegradable containers can be imported from the United States, Europe, and Asia. When asked if Dominica has the potential to open a factory to produce its own biodegradable items, Rowland says she believes the country has missed out on the opportunity to capitalize on that venture.
It's a plan that I had 6 years ago. And I presented the idea to the government, and they were not ready yet, I think. So, and now that some islands have banned and are sourcing already, it's kind of too late, I think.
So
unfortunately.
to set up our factory here?
I think, yeah, because you have big companies worldwide, and unless we said, okay, this is a CARICOM market, and we block the CARICOM market and we have to source from Dominica, for example, it can be worth it. But with the open market we have, I'm not sure it's going to be worth right now.
Rowland says the price of biodegradable material can be a deterrent. However, she is hoping that government can take steps to ensure a more reasonable price for consumers.
In my lobbying to the government, it was the ban. Sure, but it was also the waiver of the import duties. I wanted to make it more affordable for people because of the income we have in Dominica. So I'm still working on that. I haven't given up on that. Even after we get the announcement, I was still WhatsApping my contact and say, what about the waiver of duties? I say, Nathalie, hold on, that's going to happen, but give us a little time, That's a cabinet decision.
For those who don't know, could you give us an idea roughly of the cost of the biodegradable versus plastics, if you know?
Like 50 cups of the 7 ounce. By me is $14, and by anywhere else is between 5 and 9.
According to Rowland, the biodegradable items take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to decompose, unlike plastics and styrofoams, which take hundreds of years.
And the Minister for Small Business Development believes public awareness on the importance of using biodegradable food containers will be necessary. This as the country moves towards a January 1st deadline when all plastic cutlery and styrofoam materials will be banned. The minister says this is an opportunity to look at new techniques and possibly research into new products that can be used instead of plastic and styrofoam.
I see the importance of probably some women organizations, women seamstresses getting cheap, affordable materials that they can make bags to sell. And even in our neighboring countries, when you go to Guadeloupe and so, you are offered to buy a bag at €2, at €1, and you reuse it every time you come to the store. So it is something we have to create awareness, do the sensitization, do the education, and do what is in the best interest of the country. Because it hurts when you go to the beaches, the riverside, the communities, and you see all of those styrofoam, which really kills us. Yes, in the long run, it hurts all of us.
The Dominica Association of People Living with Disabilities is looking for action on the issue of access to public buildings for its members. This is one among a number of measures which the DAPD expects to see implemented, stemming from government's pledge in its budget to implement certain critical provisions within the Convention on the Rights of People Living with Disabilities. The DAPD's executive director says access to public buildings remains a critical issue for her members, as she is pleased that the budget makes provision to address those concerns.
Access to the physical environment remains a big problem for us in the disability movement, but we see also, and we heard, consideration being given to the Roseau Enhancement Project, and we also announced that the sidewalks and the roads will be made physically accessible for persons with disabilities, not only for persons in wheelchairs, because we have other types of disabilities. People with mobility impairments, people with visual impairments do have problems accessing the physical environment as well. So we are happy for that. We also support the effort at ensuring that when new homes are erected, people can remain in their homes as much as possible when we are threatened by a hazard or natural disaster. We also support that, and we are adding that these homes, in a certain area in these homes, there is a place that is accessible for persons with disabilities. And it would be a good thing for all homeowners and builders to take into account the fact that, you can acquire disability at any time, so there should be an area in your home at all times where, if God forbid, you were to, acquire disability, that you'll be able to function independently and not, have to rely on. Yes, sometimes we have our caregivers, our attendants, our assistants, but the more independent you can be, the better for you. So you'll be able to just continue functioning normally if you have an area in your home that is physically accessible.
In the 2018-2019 budget address, Prime Minister Skerrit made a commitment to have the Ministry of Health and Social Services work closely with the DAPD to make sure a number of articles in the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities are implemented. Dominica ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities 6 years ago. And the Minister for Education, Peter Saint-Jean, has put schools on blast for having what he describes as prohibitive fees. In the last financial year, government spent $37,000 to assist students with school registration.
Madam Speaker, you need to be aware of this, that while some parents walk around with 2 cell phones, there are times when their children cannot pay the registration fee. And I think we need to call on Dominicans to exercise prudence and good judgment as to how they spend their hard-earned monies. And very often, PAL reps are bombarded at the Ministry of Education or they go to the PM's office. And so for school registration, students who are entering school or at school and they cannot pay, and mind you, Madam Speaker, some of these schools, and we need to send a clear message, and as Minister, I need to send a clear message to some of these schools, because I believe that the registration fee is prohibitive.
Seja says some of these schools' registration fees are over $1,000, defeating the government's purpose of wider access to education.
While we speak of creating access to secondary education, some schools make access to secondary education prohibitive by charging exceptionally high fees, sometimes as much as $1,000 and above. Madam Speaker, when a parent registers a child because she believes this school is prestigious and a child needs to go there and she can pay the fee, when that parent goes to a pal rep or the minister, we, because of a heart of love, we assist these people. We find ways and means to assist these people.
Education received the second highest allocation of $75.5 million in the 2018-2019 budget. And to end the news, a look again at the headlines. The remains of IPO Chairman Dermott Southwell laid to rest following an official funeral on Monday. Opposition leader says the cannabis industry could boost Dominica's Nature Island profile. And MP for Portsmouth optimistic about chances Ross University will resume operations here. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.